Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Behind the Cape. I'm Data Superhero Keith Belanger, and I'm joined today by fellow Data Superhero Karthik. As some of you may know, Karthik or remember, Karthik was a part of our fireside chat on Cortex, and today Karthik is going to dive a little bit deeper into the Cortex AI for us. So, welcome, Karthik.
Sure, Keith. Thanks for having me here one more time.
Yeah,
So, can you please share the slides that we have? And I'll
sure.
start with a quick introduction about me. Okay. So hello everyone. Just to introduce myself, I am Karthik Raman. I am based in India, in Chennai, and I work for LTI Mindtree, and I lead the Snowflake Tech Consulting Group at LTI Mindtree, and I'm a Snowflake Data Superhero. Also, I lead the Snowflake Chennai user group chapter, and I am also a technical blogger. And you can follow my blogs on the Medium channel. The link is shown on the screen. And I look forward to this conversation. Thank you, Keith.
No problem. Excited to hear what you have for us today. So, want me to go to the next slide?
Yes, please. Yeah. So continuing on from the last discussion that we had, Keith, I just wanted to touch upon the Cortex AI, what is the capability that it brings to the table, and basically based on my consulting experience, I just wanted to throw some light on what are the different capabilities within the Snowflake Cortex AI umbrella, and what are the use cases, and then how exactly it basically simplifies things for Snowflake users. That is the high level agenda that I have for today's call. So
Go for it.
in Cortex AI, in general, right, it is basically a broad umbrella term for the broad range of AML capabilities within the Snowflake platform, which enables enterprises with a built-in AI functionality, model integration, and it helps enterprises to build generative AI applications, all within Snowflake, and basically there is no data movement outside of Snowflake. Everything is natively data is kept securely within Snowflake, and Snowflake of course brings in the enterprise grade security and governance, and we are able to build native AI applications all within Snowflake using the power of Cortex. And the Cortex it has multiple different components which has different capabilities. For today's session, I'm primarily going to touch upon the Snowflake Copilot, Document AI, the AML Studio, the Cortex agents, the AI observability, and then the Cortex LLM functions to end with. That is the sequence in which I'm going to cover. Can we please move to the next slide, Keith? Starting off with Copilot, what is Copilot? It is a AI-powered SQL assistant within Snowflake, and that helps business users or data engineers to basically write SQLs. It can do a variety of things. Say for example, when the data engineer or business analyst is not so well versed with the data set, they basically they are not fully versed on the syntax. Maybe they can write a simple text in terms of what is, give me maybe this the top 10 products from the last month's sales or something like that. They can give a prompt, and Snowflake Copilot it can write the SQL for the user. If the query is already written, it can also do things okay, it can help to refine or improve the SQL. It can also help users to basically how it simplifies the whole thing is, it also helps the users to if they give a prompt to understand about a particular data set, it can also give them contextual information that can help the users to understand the data in in depth, in a detailed way. And also if there is an option if they wanted to explore a particular function like a dynamic table or hybrid tables, for example, right, they can always ask a prompt to the Copilot and get responses from Copilot. to basically like understand any of the functionalities or features like within Snowflake. So basically it simplifies the whole the process of like writing like SQL like from the scratch. And then like it also gives and it assists the users like in basically like understanding the data sets. And also it gives like suggestions and prompts to for the users to in the whole like process of like writing SQLs and then like getting insights out of the data. Best use cases per se is like okay if the user is not like fully like comfortable like writing like deep technical syntaxes like in SQL. Basically giving a simple prompt like will give them like ready-made like ready to use like SQL which they can run. And then like they can always like iteratively like refine those SQLs and then like get insights out of the data. In terms of adoption and like consideration, there might be like certain like privileges that needs to be set up like in terms of like enabling like Copilot like within Snowflake. And then like in terms of like sensitive data, there might have to be like policies like RBAC has to be implemented like accordingly. And not all like functions like in terms of like features like might be supported in like Copilot. There are certain limitations we have the user have to work around that. That is in a nutshell about like Snowflake Copilot.
Yeah, I Copilot is great because I can remember um, over my career wasting lots of minutes trying to find where you missed on your syntax when you're trying to do stuff, and this can help you really speed that up.
Absolutely, like at least from my experience, right? Like say ever since the Copilot like was introduced, like I have spent a lot of time like trying to research, like and like as I in my organization, like in my experience, I have seen a lot of clients, especially the data engineers. They absolutely love this. They extensively use this because like they don't have to spend like time on like writing SQLs like etc. from the scratch. They can like save a lot of effort and time like by leveraging Copilot. And then like they can use that saved time and bandwidth on like more critical tasks. That is what like I've seen.
Right, exactly. All right.
Yeah, let's go to the next slide down, Keith. The next one I wanted to touch upon is like okay, Snowflake Document AI. And like this is again like another like fantastic capability within the Cortex umbrella. So a lot of like enterprises they have like a lot of PDF documents like and images like sit in within their like, landscape. And like getting insights out of those like PDFs and like unstructured documents like PDFs and images is always a problem. So the capability that Document AI brings is that like using this particular capability, you can always like easily like and seamlessly like extract like insights out of the structured data or like even the unstructured data like which are like sitting in your like Snowflake internal stage or external stage. We can always like derive insights out of it using like all the industry standard like LLMs like that are currently out there. Basically, like how it basically like simplifies works for the users is that like it eliminates like the need for like any kind of like manual extraction of data from like large like kind of like invoices or contractual documents or like KYC forms, etc. Like that like might be sitting in like in the data repository of like large enterprises. Again, like using Document AI, like around Document AI, like we can set up like continuous like data ingestion pipelines to basically like process these like documents, extract the data, and then extract structured data from these documents, and then like store them into like Snowflake tables, and then like ready for analysis or like any kind of like further processing. And like we can always like augment this like with like BI dashboards to do like visualization like on top of the extracted data which are stored in tables. Mainly like in terms of like use cases, again as I mentioned like invoices, that is a common like use case we see. Or like any kind of like receipts or like large contractual documents like that the enterprises might have, especially in the banking and like financial sector, like the KYC document like that are like gathered from the customer, like it has a lot of critical information. And again like during the KYC process like the customer submits a lot of like ID proof or like address proof, and then like we can like seamlessly use like a document AI to extract like information seamlessly, and then like use it for like further processing, especially in terms of complaints, etc. And like I mentioned, like we can build like continuous like data ingestion pipelines and like continuously like derive insights from these documents. In terms of like consideration for specifically for adoption, customers like or like users, right, like they require some kind of like training, or like they need some kind of familiarity with the documents that they are dealing with. In terms of like the quality of the output of like document AI, it depends upon like what is the clarity, image clarity, or like what is the level of quality of the particular like image or like PDF. And like the security and governance is always like paramount in terms of like if there are like any sensitive information like within the data, we always needs to put like guardrails around it, like just to ensure like that the information extracted from the document are masked, or like it is excluded like from like further like consumption. So document UI, AI is a great feature. I've seen like a lot of customers like that I interact with ever since it was introduced, right? Like they are like using it like extensively, and like we are hearing a lot of like positive feedback from our customers on that.
Yeah, it's a great way to.
What's your experience on that, Keith?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is great because there are many organizations who have lots of great information in their documents and never really, unless you really had some skilled um, data practitioners that really knew what to do. This now gives every Snowflake customer the ability to leverage their unstructured documents for value. So I think this is fantastic capability within Snowflake.
Before like document AI came in, like they had the limitation of like doing a lot of manual data extraction work, which was like time consuming and like cumbersome. And
Yeah,
customers are able to save a lot of time like using like this automated processing.
absolutely.
Can we go to the next slide, please, Keith? The next one. Again, this is one of my favorite like thing like that was introduced like recently. AML Studio. It is basically what it is like it is a low code visual graphical UI that is available like within Snowside, that helps user to like that allows users to build like test and like deploy ML models, generative AI apps like within the Snowflake ecosystem. And like we are able to the users are able to leverage Snowflake native functions and like Cortex capabilities without like a need for like any complex like or like detailed like coding required. In terms of like how exactly it simplifies the work for uh, the customers is that it provides a lot of like out of the box functionalities like functionalities like classification, forecasting, etc., that can be like directly applied on like data sets like sitting within Snowflake. And like Cortex playground is again like something like where like users can like give their prompts and then like test the output, like evaluate like what kind of responses they get from like the different like models, and like they basically like fine tune like the interactions, and basically they can decide on okay what is the right optimal model like for their use case. And in terms of like even like customers using like Cortex search for like processing the searching the or processing the unstructured data, integrating like the custom LLMs like the fine-tuned LLMs into their like generative AI application. All they can do like using the AML Studio like in a few clicks natively within Snowflake. And in terms of the best use cases, like again like analyst or like data scientists like building like predictive models or like LLM powered like yeah, AI applications, they can like seamlessly use this AML Studio without any complex coding required. And in terms of like teams like wanting to collaborate like within the large enterprises, like how do they like integrate the LLMs and the ML insights into their dashboards and their workflows, they are able to seamlessly use that. So and net the AML Studio, right? Like without somebody writing the code from the scratch, it helps to basically give them a good graphical UI. Especially some people are very comfortable in using the UI. At least for me personally, I used to be the old school. I used to do a lot of coding right from the scratch. But some people they prefer using the fantastic AML graphical UI to do their all their use cases within Snowflake. In terms of adoption consideration, again it requires certain access and roles, etc. And the cost is it should be a key consideration whenever when we use the custom LLMs or the industry standard LLMs. We need to again iteratively decide on what would be the optimal models for the use case. And in terms of best results, basically the input data is very critical in terms of the quality of the data that will decide on the quality of the output. And after careful consideration and iteration, the right optimal model needs to be decided. And the different thresholds and configurations that goes with the model, again that also be need to be carefully chosen.
Yeah, like you said, I think what's great about the studio is it's brought that capability to more people in the data industry that, like you said, that might not have had the older school way of doing it or the deeper experience for doing models in the past. Now you've really brought that capability to more data practitioners in the industry.
Absolutely, Keith. Yeah, like you said, people they don't have to be an expert in the AML area. Even if they are getting started, they can seamlessly come and use the AML Studio, and then they can explore the functionalities available, and they can build whatever they want to in terms of the AML use cases within Snowflake. Absolutely. Can we go to the next slide, please, Keith? Again, observability. This is another fantastic feature in terms of whenever we are building generative AI application. The capability that AI observability offers is that people building generative AI application, how do they ensure the generative AI applications that they are building is trustworthy, and it is basically giving them the right performance. So in terms of the capability and how it simplifies work is, it is able to users are able to run evaluations on the generative AI applications, and then basically see how the applications are performing, and if there are any kind of fine tuning or required, they can always do that. And also they can step by step they can define tracing within their generative AI applications. And if at all something goes wrong, right, they also have an option to, using the traces, they can go and step by step do a debugging, and then find out what is going wrong. So basically it also helps to do a side by side comparison of, okay, what are all the different models, how are they performing, what are all the different prompts that were given, and what are all the different application versions that were built. And basically we can do a side by side easy comparison, and then figure out okay, which model or which prompt or which, what exactly is the right one to move forward. And it gives a fantastic capability in terms of iteratively fine tuning and improving the generative applications we build on Snowflake. Best use cases, as I mentioned, any RAG application we are building in terms of or any summarization pipelines, any benchmarking can be seamlessly done in terms of detecting the hallucinations or evaluating any kind of correct or like incorrect responses, and then like basically like iteratively like fine tuning the generative AI applications. AI observability comes in like really handy. And in terms of the adoption consideration, there might be some certain like roles and privileges might be required. Also, the TrueLens like Python package like needs to be set up. And in terms of the function calls, like the charges is something like that needs to be closely watched in terms of like how many tokens are like spent, etc. And finally, the data quality, and then the quality of the data set, like the data model, the quality of the data model, etc. is like very critical, like in terms of like how effectively like we can use the AI observability capability within Snowflake Cortex AI.
As you know, and you just mentioned, AI can be very costly for an organization. So having feature that can help you with understanding the transparency of what's going on and helping you making sure you have a quality models and agents and stuff like that. So it's just great having that like that assistant with you to help you making sure you're getting the best out of what you are producing.
Absolutely, Keith. Completely agree with you. Can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah. Data agents, like this is the talk of the town, right? Of late. So a lot of last week, like we had a user group meeting in Chennai, and like I did a small presentation on like Cortex data agents, and like a lot of all the participants, right? Like this is one of the fascinating topic for them. Basically, everyone is curious. Okay, how exactly like the data agents, like the Snowflake data agents, is able to simplify the work, basically. So in terms of the capability, right, data agents is like we need to think of data agents as basically agents like is going to basically any say for example customer is like giving a prompt saying like I need to identify okay what are all the top selling like top 10 products or something like that. So basically there could be like to get insights or like data insights for that particular question from the user. We might have to access structured data, we might have to also access some of the unstructured data, etc. for that particular use case. So agent like basically it basically like it basically looks at the task and like basically like breaks that tasks into like multiple different like subtasks, and like it basically decides okay what is the sequence in which those subtasks need to be performed, and at the end of the each subtask output, basically it validates the response, and then like it reflects on the response basically, and then like it finds you iteratively like it fine tunes okay how exactly what are all the tools like within Snowflake that needs to be used to perform a particular action. Say for example, when I say tools, Cortex Analyst could be one of the tools that the Snowflake data agents use. So if there are like structured data sitting within Snowflake and it needs to be retrieved, so basically, like one of the agent tools that could be used to retrieve the data could be Cortex Analyst. If there are like unstructured data like sitting like that needs to be retrieved, one of the tools that could be used by the data agents is something like the Cortex search. So in a nutshell, when we submit any kind of like query to our like generative AI application, right? The Snowflake data agents, it basically decides okay what are all the tools like that needs to be like used for to particularly like retrieve the data and then like give the best possible result, and internally it decides okay what is the sequence in which it needs to be the action needs to be performed, and like it does the orchestration like internally from the outside, like when the user like submits a prompt to the Cortex AI, we don't know what is happening in the background, but like Cortex AI is able to seamlessly like stitch together the individual tasks and like subtasks and then the sequence in which like the actions needs to be performed, and like it reflects on the output of like each of the subtasks, and like it validates the responses, and then like iteratively it refines the quality of the output, and like what we get out of the Cortex AI data agents is a very highly accurate like responses. the data agents. And in terms of the use cases, again, like the typical like chatbot type of interfaces where we ask like complex questions on like a different set of documents or like the data sets like within Snowflake. And like the self-serve analytics is one of the typical use case. Like a lot of customers are like now leaning towards like leveraging data agents. And again, like in terms of like enabling the data agents, like there are like certain like access and like governance related consideration that needs to be taken care, depending upon like the quality of the data, and then depending upon the quality of the prompt, and like what are all the different like agents that are available within Snowflake. The quality of the output and everything like will slightly vary, but like this is a great capability within Snowflake, and like a lot of customers are like doing POCs, and then like they are like doing MVPs like to leverage the power of data agents. That's what I've seen from my personal experience.
Yeah, this is really, these agents are really where you can expose the power of AI to your business, right? They don't understand a lot of the back end, what's going on, but exposing a chatbot, example, like, it really is bringing that AI capability to to your customer side, in a usable format for them, and it really, that's where some of that power of the AI comes to helping businesses.
Absolutely, yeah. I know like a lot more agents are like there in the roadmap to be added to the set of like Snowflake capabilities. But like now the using data agents, like we can take any problem statement and then like split it into smaller like problem statements or like tasks or subtasks, and like we can create like individual like agents for each of those subtasks, and then like within Snowflake can seamlessly like orchestrate those like internal like agents like seamlessly, and like give a high quality and like highly accurate like output to the users. So this is a great feature or like the great development, and like we're looking forward to seeing like okay what more like agents are going to be added within Snowflake. This is one of the things I'm very curious about. Can you go to the next slide, please, Keith? Again, last but not the least, the Cortex LLM functions. LLM functions, like again, like Cortex AI, like support. It has like a lot of task-specific functions like classify text or extract answer, translate, summarize. It is basically like able to do a lot of text classification, extract answers from particular like semi-structured data, do a translation of the data set, like summarize the data set, like task-specific functions. There are like it are built like to do a particular like function. And like we also have the complete function, we also have the helper functions like within like the Cortex AI. And also like in terms of the industry standard like models like Mistral, Llama, like Meta, and like even DeepSeek, the Cloud, Anthropic, like all the different models are like supported like by Cortex AI. And it is basically like able to simplify a lot of activities, or like whenever like we are building generative AI applications, it is able to like do a lot of basically it gives the users like the access to the different LLMs, like fine tune basically like we can take the any of the LLMs, fine tune that like into like as per the custom requirement we have. And also we can do things like text classification, like translation, summarization, etc., all like within the secure boundaries of Snowflake. And in terms of the use cases, again like we can like run like all these like classification, summarization, like use cases within using SQL, like using Cortex AI. And we can like do like a domain specific like fine tuning or prompt engineering, like using like Cortex native functionality. uh, and finally, on the in terms of the adoption consideration, um, again, cost is like something like which needs to be closely looked at. What are all the different models? Like so, see, basically for a simple use case, we should not end up using a like a large model. So we should like iteratively or like by trial and error basis decide like what is the optimal model like for the use case. And also we need to closely look at like the access control and like governance policies that needs to be applied to avoid like the data is like to avoid like the data security is not compromised. And also like iteratively like we need to look at like okay playing around with the different models, playing around with the different prompts, and then like finalizing like what would be the optimal model and then the prompt, etc. That is like required for the use case. Again, like with this LLM functions, like I'm seeing like from my experience, a lot of customers are like extensively like leveraging that. And we don't, in the absence of this Cortex AI functionality, right? Like say, for example, like translation or summarization, we used to write like custom code like to do this. Now, like everything is like coming out as a out of the box functionality, and like customers are like happy like to leverage this, like and then like this simplifies a lot of like complex work for them, and then like they can spend the effort and time saved on like more critical tasks. So this is a great feature again, I would say.
Yeah, I know personally myself, I used to have to play around with APIs, right? If you wanted to really interact with the different LLMs that are out there. Now, by bringing all these different LLMs available inside of Snowflake, you get to try and experiment with the different models, the different costs, without complex development needing to be done, and you know, opening up opportunities for security holes by trying to go outside the Snowflake ecosystem to use all of these industry models.
Absolutely, Keith. Completely agree with that. And this Cortex AI is something like I've been like personally like exploring and like earlier like I was showing like the link to the my Medium channel. So there like I've done written like extensive blogs, be it like on Document AI or like Copilot or like in the LLM functions, right? I've written like 10 plus different blogs that are available in my like Medium channel, where like I've taken like one particular function and then like explored on okay, what are the different use cases, and then like for each of the use cases, I've tried to show a kind of a small like working demo of like some sample data set, and then like I've shown a kind of a mini lab like in each of those blocks. So maybe like I would highly encourage the anyone interested like to look at the 10 plus blogs I've written on like Cortex AI, and then like maybe like they can like read that, and then like maybe they can share their feedback. I personally feel that like it would be beneficial for a lot of people who are trying to explore like Cortex AI. And it would be of great help like if you can like read those blogs and then like share me your feedback.
Absolutely, Karthik. And we will be adding all of the links to your blogs and stuff below in the description. So please, everybody, check it out, learn a bit more about what Karthik has to show. But again, thank you, Karthik, for really going through all that level of detail with all the different parts of Cortex. I personally learned a lot myself, and I hope everybody as well. So again, thanks for joining us.